Paul Tuttles, a senior at Orange County Choppers, is here with the foundation tonight. Thank you for coming tonight. No problem. I'm happy to be here. They were the masters of custom motorcycles, and on the Discovery Channel, they turned wrenches into gold. But when the cameras stopped filming, the stars of American Chopper lost everything. Bankruptcy filings showed debts in the millions. Family members sued each other all the time. One son went missing totally after suing for $250,000. Another person faced addiction while his father kicked him out. The mansion that was on TV was up for sale. The business empire fell apart. They're all across the country now, and what happened to each of them will stun you. Paul Tuttles, Sr. He used to bellow instructions while creating dream motorcycles and stood like a king inside Orange County Choppers. His big arms crossed, sunglasses on, and voice booming through the store. Paul Tuttles, Sr. was more than just a bike builder. He was a brand, a TV celebrity, and a symbol of ruggedness from the old days. Fans watched every show and cheered as motors roared and tempers flared. But behind the scenes, the empire was already coming apart. By February 2018, everything fell apart. He filed for Chapter 13 bankruptcy, which meant he had to admit that he owed about 170,800 ringgit to roughly 50 separate creditors. He had 19,001,729 seconds worth of assets. But the truth was considerably worse. He was making $1,570.93 a month, but he was spending $12,612 simply to get by. There was almost nothing left. Fans saw him proudly build the mansion in Montgomery, New York on TV, but it went into foreclosure. He had to sell it for only $1.5 million in 2019. He wanted more than twice that. The sale even had tools and farm animals for sale because every penny counted. But the money troubles weren't the only calamity. In 2017, Thomas Derbyshire, his own business partner, sued him for fraud. Derbyshire gave $3 million to help start a new show. But Paul Sr. used it all up. The paperwork from the court told the truth. He put off filming for a whole week just so he could go fishing. He wouldn't work with folks they had already employed. He withdrew money from the budget without notifying anyone so he could pay his son Michael's wages. He also did side deals, trading dog food for his girlfriend's animal rescue effort and getting free tools for his store on the side. No one could see what was going on. There were no records of any deals. Then additional legal trouble happened. A federal judge held him in contempt of court in 2019 because he didn't pay GTM Motorsports $17,000. They had worked on his 2009 ZR1 Chevrolet Corvette. He never gave them any money. He also owed the municipality of Crawford $151,230.9 in delinquent taxes. He also owed $21,300 on his credit cards. And it didn't end there. Reports came out that linked him to a fraud that deceived Central American investors out of $12 million to $15 million. Everything was connected to his OC Roadhouse project in Florida. He left New York and moved out by March 2020. The shop that made him renowned was no longer in business. He transferred everything to Clearwater, Florida, where he opened the OC Museum and Roadhouse. The name was still well known. The bikes were still making noise. But the glory was gone. There was no more money. The trust was lost. He is 76 years old today and still builds bikes and posts videos on YouTube where he grips handlebars and acts like the good old days never stopped. Paul Tuttles JRB, Paul Tuttles JRB, used to be the face of a huge empire. He made unique choppers that blew people's minds. Discovery Channel showed his designs. He worked alongside his father, Paul Sr., and together they built Orange County Choppers, a well-known name. But stardom didn't last long, and what started as a dream ended in court fights, betrayal, and bankruptcy that almost destroyed everything he had accomplished. In 2008, when American Choppers was at its most popular, everything started to go apart. Paul Sr. lost it with his son while cameras were rolling. The fight wasn't new. They had been arguing for years about who was in charge. But this time, it went much further. Paul Sr. dismissed his son on live TV. That was it for Junior. No crew, no bikes, no office. Still, his name was still on the business. He owned 20% of Orange County Choppers. That's when the real war began. Sr. didn't want his son to have anything. He triggered a buyout option that was hidden in their company deal. This clause would enable him kick Junior out for good. but Senior's own appraiser said it was worth zero instead of giving it a reasonable value of 20%. Nothing. The same son who helped create the company and came up with the bike designs that made them renowned was suddenly told that his stake mattered nothing. Junior fought back. He went to court, and by December 2010, he had won the appeal. The judges said the deal couldn't be enforced. They never came to an agreement on how to figure out the worth. Paul Jr. managed to maintain his investment, but the harm was already done. The family was falling apart, and the business was like a war zone. In 2009, they formed a brief truce to try to rescue the Discovery Channel partnership. But the stress never went away. The trust was lost. Junior started again then. Paul Jr. started his own business. He moved his shop to Ship Bottom, New Jersey, and made designs. He didn't have the original crew, the old garage, or the support of a reality show empire, but he did have his hands, his style, and his name. Big companies came to call. He made unique choppers for all of them, including Microsoft, Cadillac, and Mercedes-Benz. People still stopped and stared at the bikes. But money problems started to creep in behind the success. The data told the real story. By March 2018. Paul Jr. filed for Chapter 13 bankruptcy. His assets were worth $1,800,172, but his obligations were almost as large at $170,893. In addition, he owes $51,308 in taxes. His most valuable property was his $1.8 million estate in Montgomery, New York, but that house wasn't enough to keep everything from falling apart. The collapse was slow and terrible. There was still fame, but no money. Paul Jr. is still in the game, even now. He goes to high-end motorbike races. He is in charge of judging elegant concourse activities. He still makes bikes, but he's not part of the empire he helped build anymore. Orange County Choppers went on without him. Today, he is worth only $2 million, which is a far way from what it could have been. He made bikes that were presented all over the world. He helped a family garage become a well-known brand around the world. He lost the shop, the name, and the faith of the guy who taught him everything in the end. It only took 10 years for someone who was once a TV star to end up in bankruptcy court, but he kept building through it all. Mikey Tuttles. People watched American Chopper for the loud motors, the custom bikes, and the crazy clashes between Paul Sr. and Paul Jr. But there was always one individual who made the pandemonium feel better. Mikey Tuttles wasn't making motorcycles. He wasn't yelling or throwing tools. He was making jokes, answering phones, and cleaning up the Orange County Choppers shop. He was the weak link in a performance made of unyielding metal. But what most people didn't realize was that Mikey's main fight wasn't with his family. It was with himself. It was with the bottle. At first, the drinking was subtle, like a noise in the background of his existence. But as the seasons went by, the cacophony got louder. Mikey's drug problem didn't simply hurt him. It ruined everything in his life. His father, Paul Sr., had started the business from scratch and couldn't handle it anymore. This wasn't just a break. Paul Sr. booted Mikey out of Orange County Choppers for good. The store, the show, and the family company. One harsh choice took it all away. Fans started to notice that Mikey was missing from several programs. He wasn't at the builds. He wasn't in the back. People began to wonder what was going on, but the answer was worse than anyone thought. Mikey had finally hit rock bottom and had to go to treatment. He had to fight for his life or lose everything. Even when he became sober, trouble kept coming his way. Scott Gunnels, a photographer, sued Mikey Paul Sr. and Orange County Choppers in 2019 for copyright infringement. Gunnels had taken pictures of Mikey in 2013. Those same pictures began to appear on the show, on Facebook pages, and on products. Hoodies cost $39.99 and t-shirts cost $19.95. One of the pictures chosen for Mikey's art show had his logo chopped off. He didn't say it was okay. A federal judge found in Gunnels' favor on February 18, 2020. Paul Sr. was told to pay $2,584,845 for exploiting the pictures without permission. It was a big blow to a family that had already been hurt by years of legal and emotional problems. The troubles with money didn't end there. Mikey bought a house from his mother Paula for $550,000 in 2004. Montgomery, New York, was a sleepy place. But in 2009, 5 years later, he had to sell that same house for only $460,000. He lost $90,000, which was his net worth. It used to be $2 million, but it steadily went down to $1 million. It wasn't only about the money. It was about seeing his life go smaller in every way. Fame was going away. People didn't think of motorcycles or laughs when they heard his name anymore. It was linked to lawsuits, addiction, and not talking. But Mikey kept trying. He started to put his life back together after going to rehab, fighting in court, and losing his family's house. He returned to Orange County Choppers, but this time as the assistant general manager instead of a star. He was in charge of the Facebook page. He kept things going. It was a small part, but it was steady. He also launched his own business, Fark Products LLC, and began selling gourmet pasta sauces that he made himself. It wasn't about being well known anymore. It was about creating something that seemed real. He started an art gallery in Montgomery. He filled it with his own art, including metal sculptures and paintings, the kind of things that talked without making noise. Vinny D. Martino left Orange County Choppers in August 2007, taking his equipment with him. He worked there for 5 years, making some of the most famous bikes that were ever on the show. Fans appreciated how calm he was, how clean his lines were, and how good he was at what he did. Paul Tuttles Sr. looked right at the camera and said, "Everyone's replaceable. No thanks, no handshake, no respect." It was a chilly remark that impacted Vinny harder than any punch. He didn't say anything. He just departed. But he wasn't finished. He teamed up with Cody Connolly, another young builder from OC. They also operated Vorse Customs in Rock Tavern, New York. They didn't spend any time. Customers came in, bikes were manufactured, and the shop got off to a great start. In 2010, Vinny went back on TV with Paul JRB in American Chopper, Senior vs. Junior. He was in 55 of the 65 episodes of the show. It seemed like things were finally coming together for 4 seasons. It seemed like the dream was genuine, but things were shifting quickly outside the store. Then the crash happened. The financial crisis of 2008 didn't merely shake up banks and the stock market. It destroyed the world of custom motorcycles. By the end of 2013, there was no longer a market for bespoke choppers. People weren't buying anything. The culture that used to support stores and shows has died out. No matter how good Vinny's work was, it didn't matter. There were no more buyers. The defeats kept coming. Vorse Customs couldn't make it. Vinny sold the things he had built his dream on one at a time. Gone are the lathes, welders, and paint guns. He discreetly closed the store. No send-off, no attention. All you can hear is doors closing and hopes coming to an end. That year, Vinny had to make a tough change. He used the little money he had left to start Da Martino Motorsports in Montgomery. This time, it wasn't about fancy bikes or cable TV. It was about keeping the lights on. He used to construct bespoke choppers for clients all over the world, but now he fixes automobiles and light trucks for people in his area. There are no cameras in the garage, no spectators leaning over the ropes, just oil, tools, and hard work. His net worth is thought to be about $1 million now. That amount seems little for someone who used to be on a hit reality program, but it's what he's made with his own 2 hands, without any help or scripts. That day in 2007, Vinny demonstrated something when he stepped out. Paul Sr. didn't have to agree with him. He didn't need to be famous to live. He only needed to believe in himself enough to try again. He kept going even when everything fell apart. Rick Petco woke up in Pennsylvania every day for 13 years and drove 90 minutes to work. He repeated it again at the conclusion of each day. That's 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. Stuck in traffic between trucks and taillights only to get to the loudest store on TV. Rick kept his regimen going like clockwork from July 2003 to 2016, while the people at Orange County Choppers threw wrenches, damaged furniture, and yelled across the floor. Rick calmly kept constructing bikes and coming. No one on screen saw it, but the road was killing him. He got a lot of money for it. Rick got an extra $13,000 on top of his regular OCC salary every time he was on an episode. The checks added up. When he left, his net worth was about $1.75 million, but there was a price to pay for all that money that wasn't seen on air. The store was a mess. The cameras never stopped. The disputes were real, and Rick was spending more time with his steering wheel than with his wife. He got married in 2012, and it altered everything. He began to realize how much of his life was being wasted. Hours spent behind the wheel, energy wasted watching seniors and juniors rage over deadlines, frames, and loyalty. The show made him a well-known person. It had made him rich, but not happy. Rick did something that most people talk about but never do in 2016. He left. No more cameras. No more bonuses for each episode. You don't have to drive an hour and a half to get to a storm of ranting anymore. Rick put his tools away and went home. Not simply to Pennsylvania, but also to a place near to home. This time, his new employment was only a few minutes away. He worked at Pocono Mountain Harley-Davidson in Stroudsburg, where the drive didn't take up all his time. He told the Pocono Record the truth. That was fun while it lasted, but it wasn't the main thing I was about. He now runs his own farm. He founded a firm called RPD and Co-Otters where he makes personalized knives and wedding bands by hand. He goes to motorcycle shows with his wife and kids. He makes things with his hands again, without yelling, cameras, or drama. Cody Connolly. When Cody Connolly was only 14, he got involved with Orange County Choppers. It was 2001, and most students his age were still trying to figure out their schoolwork. But Cody was already on national TV learning from the Tuttles family while wielding welding tools. He wasn't just another kid in the background. As he got older, viewers saw him become one of the youngest and most talented bike builders on film. He also received his own special build named the Cody Project in Season 1. It wasn't just for show either. That bike was auctioned at Daytona Beach Bike Week in 2003, and for a time, it looked like Cody had everything. Paul Tuttles Sr. even paid for him to go to the American Motorcycle Institute to keep learning. Everything looked like a dream on the outside. But the truth came out quickly. Cody left in October 2007. He was only 20, yet the break wasn't quiet. He sued Paul Sr. and Orange County Choppers, which startled everyone who had ever seen the show. The boy everyone cheered for was now suing the man who used to call him family. Cody said they kept using his face on products even after he departed. He never got $1 for the posters, coloring books, and all the other stuff. The money wasn't even the worst part. Paul Sr. gave Cody the keys to a custom helicopter and claimed it was his in front of the camera. Cody says he never got the bike. The keys were for the show, not for real life. He wanted $250,000 in damages. When people asked him why he waited so long, Cody said he didn't know what his rights were at the time. He was still a kid. The dispute went on for a long time, until 2011, when it was settled out of court. No big ending, no public apologies, just silence. And suddenly Cody was gone from the motorcycling world for good. The same industry that had made him famous was now behind him. He did something different. Revel Ranch Excavation is a demolition company based in Pine Bush, New York. He deals with dirt, septic systems, clearing land, and drainage. He's married now. He is the father of a girl. He seldom ever publishes on social media. The child who used to weld gas tanks on camera now digs in the dirt where no one can see him. Jason Pohl. Then Jason Paul, the designer who came to OC in early 2004, came along. He was just an artist designing digital choppers for a pinball game before the concert. But Paul Sr. saw his work and hired him as the lead designer. At first, many were blown away by Jason's creations. He had crazy ideas and tech talents that appeared like they were from the future. But the internet didn't like him. They really loathed him. People said he was full of himself. Fans said he was trolling message boards to protect himself. One blogger even said that Jason was the most disliked person on American Chopper and that he probably knew it. People often said that his illustrations didn't look like real motorcycles. Paul Sr. had to tell him again and over that a sketch had to turn into something that could truly ride. The worst part was when Paul Sr. lost it over one of Jason's constructions and labeled it a cake decorator during the Senior vs. Junior spin-off. Jason broke down on camera. He stated he took the designs personally, and when the owner of the company insulted his work in front of everyone, it broke him. In the 2011 build-off, OC Paul JRB and Jesse James went head-to-head. Jason helped make a strange bike that looks like a tank and has flamethrowers. It didn't go well. People on the internet laughed. Hardcore bikers rolled their eyes. Some people thought it appeared more like a video game than a motorcycle. And that joke remained with Jason. OC was coming apart by February 2018. Paul Sr. went insolvent under Chapter 13. He owed more over $66,000 on his credit cards and was being sued in 8 different cases. After then, Jason's time on screen went down quickly. He officially left in March 2020. In 2021, he moved to Florida and never looked back. He is now a brand ambassador for SolidWorks. He makes things that are far away from bike shops and TV cameras. His net worth is thought to be about $700,000. No more yelling or flames. Just 3D models, software, and serenity. Nick Hansford. Nick Hansford quietly built bikes and kept his life together while the rest of the Orange County Choppers team fought on air and in court. He had trained with Christian Welter at the American Motorcycle Institute in Florida, and they both wanted more than the shops they worked in. Nick got better at his career by working at Pompano Fats and Daytona Choppers, but Bike Week in 2000 altered everything. That's when he met Paul Tuttles, Seaster, who observed Nick's quiet confidence and hired him as a technician and distributor at OC. Nick came to New York from Florida for family reasons 2 years later, in 2002. That choice affected everything for him. He worked full-time as a mechanic at the OC shop for 17 years, and he was a regular on American Chopper and Orange County Choppers until 2019. Nick just did his job while other people yelled at each other in court or on screen. He stayed out of the lawsuits, fights, bankruptcy, and turmoil. He never became famous, but he did become something better, stable. He resides in Virginia with his wife and at least 2 kids, and no one really knows what he does now. He doesn't say anything or post anything. He chose to go away from the public eye. Christian Welter's story was just as steady, but it had its own twist. He was born in New Jersey on September 9, 1978. He also went to the American Motorcycle Institute and lived in a dorm with Nick Hansford. That one relationship with a roommate would lead to everything. Christian joined OC in 2002 when it was just getting started. He wasn't loud or showy. He didn't start fights. He only worked. As the head mechanic and shop foreman, he did the wiring, assembly, and most of the technical work on every custom chopper that left the factory. Christian was in the back checking sure the bikes worked as Paul Sr. was ranting and Jr. was leaving. He stayed out of every public tragedy that happened after the rest of the crew. Christian wasn't part of Paul Sr.'s bankruptcy in 2018, when his monthly bills were more than $12,600. He had kept his job. He had kept things tidy. He has been playing drums since he was 12 and had been receiving private tuition for 7 years. When Steve Morrow, the general manager of OC, found out, they got together to make music. They practiced in the boiler room and even put out an album with 10 songs. Christian stated it was rushed and didn't truly illustrate what they could achieve, but it happened nevertheless. He lived at OC until 2016, when he discreetly left. No lawsuits, no headlines, no meltdowns, just years of hard work and quiet exits. Daniel Tuttles. He wasn't on the show and he didn't get into fights like Paul Jr. or the public fires like Paul Sr., but what happened to him almost destroyed the whole business. Daniel was the second oldest son of Paul Sr. He took over the family's first firm, OC Ironworks, in 2004. It seemed like a present, but something else was going on behind the scenes. Tom Geneva, a bankruptcy trustee, made a stunning allegation in 2007. He said that Daniel and his family took all of OC Ironworks' valuable things, like machinery, workers, and accounts, and moved them to a new company called Orange County Ironworks LLC without paying what they were worth. The old business went out of business. The creditors didn't get anything. It wasn't just bad business. There were claims of fraud. After everything was said and done in December 2008, Daniel was only 32 years old and facing a huge fine. He had to pay $500,000. Paul Sr. and Paul Jr. just had to pay $50,000 each. Daniel's punishment was 10 times worse than theirs. Most Americans were making approximately $40,000 a year back then. It wasn't simply a fine. It was a wrecking ball. But Daniel didn't give up. He didn't cry on TV. He didn't go bankrupt. He returned to work. He worked for years to improve the company's name and make it bigger. He started a second business, which he called Gabriel Steel. By 2024, he had grown his staff from 35 to 69 people. Even more astonishing, he was the one who built the huge OC headquarters that made his brothers famous on TV. He never got any credit for it. He was never the brand's face, but he had practically helped develop it all behind the scenes. While His siblings fought on camera and lost millions. Daniel turned a scandal worth $500,000 into one of New York's biggest steel companies.